Let's talk about Syria and what is going on in Syria. Now we know that there has been fighting going on between the Syrian army and the rebel groups in Syria for the past 10 days. It all began after the ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon was achieved, and it started from Aleppo, which was a city that was captured by the Syrian rebel groups in 2012, which was then taken by the Syrian government backing Asad in 2016, and from that period it was controlled by the Syrian government. Now the offensive has been going on since 10 days, and we have seen many key areas fall to the rebel army or rebel groups. They took Aleppo, then they moved closer and closer towards Damascus, and today, or a few hours earlier, they took Homs, and after taking Homs, they started marching towards Damascus. Now, Damascus, many believed that for taking Damascus, Homs was a key asset. And when Homs fell, many felt in Syria that the next target, which will be Damascus, will also fall to the rebels. And seeing these events, the Syrian dictator, or many considered by many as the butcher of Syria, fled from Syria and left the country. Now, after taking Homs, the Syrian rebels, without any bloodshed, took Damascus. There wasn't any resistance. Now, let's see why that was. The main arguments that are presented by many analysts and many researchers say that Assad underpaid the army, and the army had tough routines and tough schedules to follow while being underpaid. Now, these are some reasons that the army didn't fight back the rebel groups. Others suggest that after the war between Israel and Lebanon, Hezbollah was weakened to a point that it didn't have the ability to help the Syrian army. And Syrian army without Russian help, with the Russia being occupied and held in Ukraine, and Hezbollah being weakened by Israel, didn't have much to offer to the rebel groups. Assad, seeing this, thought that there is nothing much to protect and fled the country. Now, what should we expect moving forward? In my opinion, the Syrian people have suffered a lot during these 13 years of conflict in Syria. Many deaths have occurred. Many people have lost their loved ones. There has been misery. People have suffered. And I hope that Syria can be rebuilt. There can be peace in Syria, and the people can live in peace and can enjoy their lives. They can see their children grow. This is what I hope for. But can it happen? For it to happen, we have to talk. We really need to talk about America and Israel and how they can play a role for peace in Syria. For peace in Syria, America can first lift the sanction that it has put on Syria, which weakened the Assad regime greatly and was a key factor for the rebels' victory. But now we know that the Syrian, about 90% of the Syrian population are below the poverty line, and economic prosperity is something that they truly deserve after 13 years, after a decade long suffering. So this is something that I hope for, but I don't see that, because Israel and America have common interests. America will not do anything that can harm Israel, and it will look for the benefit of Israel first before committing to anything. And for Israel, the situation is a bit unclear. I know that many in Israel might be anxious to what this situation, towards this situation, and what this situation will lead to in the future, because the rebels are Islamist groups designated as terrorist groups by the American government and European Union. And for Israel's safety and Israel's well-being, America will, in my opinion, still put sanctions on Syrian government, and speaking of the Syrian government, I think the next government will be chosen by the Syrian people, and therefore I hope that America can lift the sanctions, because there will be election in Syria, and this will be the first democratically elected government in Syria, and this could be a start of peace in Syria. Israel's interest has to be taken into account, and speaking of Israel and its security, we know that Hezbollah will not be happy with the situation, because Iran used to supply weapons to Hezbollah through Syria, and now Syria has repelled the Asad regime, and there will be a government in Syria that will not, in my opinion, have very good relations with Iran. And I don't think that Syria will play any role in the weaponization of Hezbollah, in arming Hezbollah. And we can see, or we can look forward to a time where Hezbollah can be weakened to a point that it can no longer exist. And then there can also be a time where Syria can play a role in the politics of Lebanon and try to free Lebanon from Hezbollah completely, because in Lebanon the politics are completely controlled by Hezbollah. And but the biggest loser here are the Iranian government. They have lost influence in Syria, and Hezbollah, which has been considerably weakened and can now face a challenge of arming itself, because the only part that was playing the role of arming Hezbollah has been closed. And now let's hope for peace in Syria, because the Syrian people deserve that.